Hello, everybody. I'm Miss Faiza Khalid, and I am the proud teacher of Appia. I've been teaching Appia since GCSE, and she's in the UK, and she excels A levels. And right now, she just got admitted into Imperial College London. So today we will know a bit background about Appia, and then we'll request her if you can take us through your whole entire process, entire journey, because you see, Appia, when you are excelling in A levels, right, or GCSE, so it's not just the GCSE and A levels; it's actually the whole background that is there, which is preparing you to win in life, right? So again, before even we start talking to you, a very huge congratulations to you for admitting into Imperial College London.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, and yes, Apia, let's start about your schooling. Yes, please.
So, from about senior school, I've always been interested in sciences. So, I was sure that in uni I would go that way, but I didn't know at that point I would do medicine. So, I knew when
Mm-hmm.
it came to GCSEs, I wanted to have a science focus. So,
Mm-hmm.
for GCSEs, I did biology, chemistry, maths, geography, computer science, Spanish, German, and maths and further maths. So, to set
Mm-hmm.
up the A level, so I would have as many options as possible that were science based. And
Okay.
then obviously you helped tutor me through chemistry, and then with brain train I had tutoring for maths and physics, which
Mm-hmm.
was really helpful because if you have people like you guys supporting and
Thank
guiding
you.
you, you can tell how much of base you can have in the future. Because if I didn't
Mhm.
have you guys helping me, then I wouldn't know if I had the ability to do these subjects at A level. Then obviously with
Thank
chemistry you
you.
helped me to get a 9, which was really helpful, so I knew that I had a good foundation, I could take it for A level.
Mm-hmm.
And then after getting my GCSEs, I knew I wanted to do medicine at that point. So for
Mm-hmm.
A levels, I did 4. Obviously, you can do 3 as well. So I
Mm-hmm.
did biology, chemistry, maths, and English literature. And
Okay.
again, I had tutoring in maths from Brain Train and then chemistry for you. And
Mm-hmm.
the tutoring in chemistry was especially helpful because I did OCR, and
Mm-hmm.
OCR has notoriously high grade boundaries. I think this year's grade boundary for an A star was 90%. So it's really
Oh.
important to be able to weed out the mistakes and get the highest grade possible, especially for studying medicine where chemistry is required. So that was my academic side of things, but obviously there was a lot with like the personal statement, UCAT, and interviews.
Mm-hmm. So after A levels, you did UCAT, right?
So
And
yeah, the
mm-hmm.
UCAT was in the summer of year 12,
Mm-hmm.
and you have booking from about July end to September, I believe. And when I was
Okay.
sitting it, they had it out of 3,600, whereas now it's currently 2,700, I believe. They cut a section out. And getting that score is very important because it sets up which universities you want to apply to. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I prepared for about 3 months, but I know
Mm-hmm.
people who are revising from like 2 months to anywhere to like half a year. And that one's
Okay.
really important because you can't resit it within the same year.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And when we talk about UCAT, so how to prepare for UCAT?
So there are a couple of different options to preparing for that. So you need to try and work out what type of person you are. So I knew that I couldn't do the revise for 6 months. That would be too long for me. So I started revising 3 months before. And
Mm-hmm.
you have to be really careful when you're booking the date because originally I was trying to get a booking for the start of August, but it's so busy that I ended up getting August 20th. So you have
Mm-hmm.
to be completely sure of your plans and everything from a really early point. The way I
Okay.
tutored is I used Medify, which is an online website that you can view videos and they have subjects. So for each
Mm-hmm.
section, they have lessons you can do and then mini tests, and then they have a test of the whole thing. And then mini mocks and full mocks were really useful, so I recommend people do those and find online websites. Um, YouTube is full of amazing resources. For UCAT, there are so many free resources you can get, and their website, the actual official UCAT website, also has free resources. And then you can also get tutoring. So I think it's really important that maybe you start studying that by yourself and see if tutoring would be a help, because even without it, like I didn't do tutoring, but without it you can learn so much by yourself. I got a score of 3070, which is what I needed to apply to Imperial.
Mm-hmm. Okay. In how many colleges did you apply?
So here you can only apply to 4 universities if you're doing medicine, and then your fifth university you can either leave that and not apply anywhere, or you can apply for a different course. So I only did the four,
Mm-hmm.
and then Imperial was my top choice. I did get
Mm-hmm.
all my interview slots, so preparing for interviews was another new thing. Obviously, as an A level student, you don't really have to do interviews, so it's the first time in your life where you do that process.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how about personal statement? A lot of students actually get scared when it comes to
Yeah.
personal statement. So how did you write that?
So my school had a lot of support for the personal statement, but for medicine, it's very different to other
Mm-hmm.
subjects. It's not so much about talking about the subject and what books you've read, it's very much practical based.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to get work experience and volunteering. For medicine, it's
Okay.
really useful if you know you want to do that career path to get your volunteering early. So I was volunteering from about year 9 or 10,
Mm-hmm.
because I was doing the Duke of Edinburgh expedition, which lots of students in the UK do. So I used all of my experience for that for medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And it universities really like it when you have long-term volunteering experience rather than you do a few months at one place. So for
Mm-hmm.
example, I did 2 years where I volunteered with children with ADHD and autism, and then I wrote about that in my personal statement and I could answer questions on that.
Mm-hmm.
Then you also need work experience. They are a
Mm-hmm.
lot more lenient on work experience after COVID, but it's still important to have some because you learn so much more about the career you're interested in. I had work experience in a hospital where I was shadowing physiotherapists on both the surgery ward and then in a normal physio clinic.
Mm-hmm.
That's also really important, but you have to be very careful when you're finding that because they have different age restrictions. So one of
Mm-hmm.
my friends volunteered in a hospice actually, and that's
Mm-hmm.
a much it's a much more mature side of medicine. It's not something you're going to see every day, and that really helps you know if the career is right for you. And it's amazing to talk about in your personal statement. There's so many skills you learn, and it's also great in interviews.
Mm-hmm. How did you manage volunteering and working, gaining experience with the all of the routine? Because I remember whatever worksheets I gave you, you would do that, all of them, along with your school assignments. So I'm surprised. How did you find time?
I've always been a busy person. I enjoy it that way. But
Uh-huh.
I used to take the coach into school. So I had
Mm-hmm.
half an hour to school, half an hour back, and then I took the train and I used to do my work then. And I used to
Okay.
sometimes have lunches where I would work. And I find that
Okay.
one of the things you don't really realize is how much more efficient you can be if you start using that sort of waiting time to do
Mm-hmm.
tasks. So I used to do work on the
Mm-hmm.
bus back for your lessons, I remember still.
Wow. I'm
Um,
impressed. If I knew you were working that way, I would have given you some leverage. I remember giving you 20 pages worksheets at times.
yeah, so sometimes it would be difficult, but I guess like the volunteering does ease off. I mean, once you get to year 12, you can stop, and you definitely don't have to do what I did and do it for that long. But
Hmm.
because I was also doing it for D of E, I sort of tag teamed. So I was using my volunteering for Duke of Edinburgh and for medicine. And then
Hmm.
when I was doing your worksheets, obviously they were helping with my A levels, which were also for medicine. So in my mind, I had all these things and I was working towards the same goal. And now I feel like I have too much free time because all of a sudden I have none of these things going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine. Okay. I remember we would, schedule classes according to your schedule, and you were like,
Yeah.
I have to do this, I have to do that. And I was like, okay, fine, Apia, let's do it that way. And I still remember you would be taking classes pretty late at night. So it was wonderful, knowing you, how hard you're working. And now when I'm listening to your journey, it's like, oh wow, she's great. Okay, so tell me, when you got into university, so did your extracurriculars like sports and other things played a role in that?
It actually did help a lot with the personal statement and
Hmm.
interviews because I used to write about the sports I do. So I do mixed martial arts. So I
Oh,
wrote about that and how that was a new skill, which I was also doing for D of E. So if anybody's doing D of E, try and think
mhm.
about what you're doing, especially if you're doing
Okay.
silver or gold, because it can help with the statement.
Okay.
I used to write about like if I played any instruments or sports I've done or
Mm-hmm.
volunteering extracurriculars, and they were really useful because in interviews, so not only so you have different interview formats, so you have stations and then you have panel interviews, and in panel
Mm-hmm.
interviews, obviously they're asking you about yourself. So I
Mm-hmm.
would talk about what I've learned about maybe playing this sport, doing something new, and you interact with a whole different set of people, and that's great to talk about for careers like medicine. Um,
Okay.
then also with the stations, sometimes you'd get questions like you get a scenario where people are maybe upset or frustrated in the role play scenario that you're given. And if you have that sort of experience in any of your extracurriculars, that can be really helpful.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So by what class students should actually start preparing for the personal statement and for the UCAT? What do you suggest? By what age?
So for medicine, if you know you want to do medicine from an early age, maybe start
Mm-hmm.
getting volunteering experiences from like year 9 or 10, because then you don't
Okay.
have to do them very often. You can space them out
Mm-hmm.
a bit, but you'll have enough experience by the time you're in year 12. And then you don't have to
Okay.
do those things, so you have more time to focus on academics.
Okay.
UCAT, okay, so UCAT you do in the summer of year 12. So I'd say
Mm-hmm.
depending on what your schooling's like, because some students will be doing EPQs in year 12 or coursework. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're doing that, you need to time your UCAT preparation appropriately and also
Okay.
start thinking about, are you going to book towards the end of the cycle or at the start of the cycle? I would say you do need at least 2 or 3 months of solid preparation, at least in my experience, but
Mm-hmm.
that's something you really need to plan around how you study efficiently. Like, I know one girl who was revising for half a year, but she was doing a little every day. Whereas when I
Mm-hmm.
did it, because I prepared in the holidays, I had the whole day where I could just revise the UCAT.
Okay. So you prepared in the break, which is in between AS and A levels, right?
Yeah, I
Okay.
did my A levels all together, so I didn't have to sit the
Oh,
AS exams
okay.
then, which
Yeah,
is
yeah, I
why I could do
remember.
it that way.
Yeah, 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 I remember now as you're telling me because the AS level it did not count earlier. So I remember that we had to work and we had to revise AS level altogether. So Apia, one more thing, like when students are you see in GCC countries in Pakistan and India, where the students are sitting for AS level and A levels in the for the Cambridge board, okay? So they have to break it into AS level and then A levels. Okay. And you gave composite, right? So everything all together. So did you have any pressure, like of managing things or remembering things like that?
The way we studied it at school, we did most of AS level first. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the hardest thing about that was there was a real jump. So I guess in some ways I can relate because the content really picks up, especially in subjects like chemistry.
Yeah.
I think the thing that helped me get through that was going over content. Like I remember with you, we used to revise the old content consistently because once you
Mm-hmm.
do get into that harder A level content, like sometimes the
Okay.
little bases slip out of your mind. But the
Mm-hmm.
good thing is, if you have the AS foundation completely solid and managed in your head, the A level builds upon that so well that by the end of the 2 year course, it all really makes sense and you can understand it really well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's great. And uh, okay, so the day when you received the final thing, that finally I'm in Imperial College London. So what was your expression and how did you like take up the entire thing? I want to know how you felt and how everything happened.
So I remember I got my offer a few months ago and I was like, this is brilliant. And I remember the awful thing about it was they updated the website at 10 p.m. So I was
Mm-hmm.
sitting there waiting until 10 p.m. to see if I got an offer. And when I found out
Mm-hmm.
I did, I was so happy. I ran up and I told my parents. And I just
Mm-hmm.
thought, okay, now I need to get the grades. I can't get too excited yet. Because I did 4, I guess it was slightly easier for me in case I needed an A star in biology or chemistry, and then I needed 2 A's, one of which in a science subject. So I got
Mm-hmm.
the A star in biology, A in chemistry, A in maths, and then an A star in English literature.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember on results day at 8 a.m. waking
Mm-hmm.
up and then checking, and I got an email saying your offer has been accepted and you've met the grade requirements, and it was the best feeling. I had tears in my eyes, I won't lie, because it's
Uh-huh.
so many years of hard work and you finally do it, and it just all
Yep.
feels like it's worth it.
Uh-huh. That's great. Okay, Appia, any message that you want to give to the students who are listening to the podcast?
I would say I know it's a real struggle and it can be, I mean, you look at your friends who are doing other courses or doing courses that have less requirements, and they're
Mm-hmm.
out having fun, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, why am I doing this to myself? But once you get to the end, it really feels like it's all been worth it, and you honestly just feel so proud of yourself. Like, it's not even a, oh my gosh, how did I do this? It's like a yes, I can do this feeling. And I think
Mm-hmm.
because there are so many different stages, like you do the UCAT, you do the interviews, your confidence really builds up at each stage and you
Mm-hmm.
start believing in yourself, which I think that's the biggest thing I've gotten out of the 2 years. I think as a person, I've really matured and I've become so much more confident because I've done all these things and I know how I have the skills to move on and now go to university. So I would just say
Mm-hmm.
to everyone, believe in yourself and keep going because you will get there, and that feeling is unmatched.
Oh, nice. Appia, one more thing. Let's say if, God forbid, you couldn't get into medicine, then what other options you had for yourself?
So you have quite a few options. So some people I know put down a fifth choice just in case, and
Mm-hmm.
then you could always go down that path and
Mm-hmm.
do graduate medicine. Or
Okay.
you can always call up the universities. For example, if you've been waitlisted, you can call them up on results day if you've made the offer to see if they have any spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you can apply to clearing to for clearing to quite a few
Mm-hmm.
universities. I know Brighton and Sussex does clearing and also some other ones. So I guess it's about really planning ahead, because if you've done your UCAT and it hasn't gone that well and you're thinking I'm not really sure if I want to apply this cycle, take a year out,
Mm-hmm.
take a gap year, because
Mm-hmm.
if you can take the rest of year 13 to focus on getting the grades you would need to apply to the university you want, then you can use your gap year to prepare more effectively for UCAT.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So after medicine, what other field do you recommend?
Gosh, that's a difficult question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it really depends because I'm doing a 6 year course instead of a 5 year
Mm-hmm.
one because we take a year out to do a different degree related to
Mm-hmm.
healthcare or not. So,
Okay.
in that degree, I know I want to do something more research based, maybe in cardiology or anesthesiology. And then
Mm-hmm.
once you complete your foundation years, you can pick a specialization. And
Mm-hmm.
I think, I mean, I'm the type of person where I don't really have the best idea of what I want to do yet. I could do
Mm-hmm.
cardiology, anesthesiology. There's so many different options out there. Until you really get into med school and start going through
Mm-hmm.
those lessons, you won't know. But I do
Mm-hmm.
think pick something that caters to your skills. Do you want to spend more time in the hospital or more time researching or even go into academics or management? Because I think
Mm-hmm.
most people don't realize doing medicine, you can end up in so many different careers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, thank you so much, Apia, for sparing time for us and for providing excellent information for the students. I hope everybody will follow the footsteps and like land on the place where they want to be, especially if they're planning for to apply for medicine. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.